So it's my privilege to introduce the next author, and her name is Sue Skalicky. Sue Skalicky is a writer, speaker, and pursuer of abundant life. Over the past 30 years, she has worked as a medical photographer, a photojournalist, leadership trainer, writer, and teacher. She has worked with the Navigators and Heartbeat Ministries, and she has written for several publications, including Discipleship Journal, the Small Group Network, Christianity Today, and the New York Times. She is currently the program coordinator for Humanities, North Dakota. Sue has published 2 books, Change for a Penny and The Silent Sound of Darkness. Sue has lived one adventure after another with her husband, Dave, for the past 33 years, fumbled through parenting 7 of the best kids in the world, and seeks to get away with as much as possible with her 9 kids. She is passionate about teaching and inspiring adults and youth worldwide. Her book, The Silent Sound of Darkness, was published in December 2019. The Facebook friend request glares back at Jacqueline Friedman. It is the face of her childhood abuser. She holds her breath as she looks at how age has sculpted his face with an unfamiliar texture. Nightmares rush to the surface. Adrenaline strikes her heart at full force. His eyes pierce her soul through the screen with the same fearful message she suffered as a child. Be silent or your family will die. 23 years ago, she believed him to be dead. Now he's invaded her carefully constructed life. The shameful secret she has carried alone all these years now threatens to become deadly. Breaking the silence could be the only way for Jacqueline and her family to escape alive.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you everyone who has joined us here today. Bear with us for a few more minutes. I know we're going a little bit after 5. A loud beeping filled Jacqueline's dream. It was getting louder and louder, and from a distance she could hear Grant saying her name. She tried to respond, but no sound would come out. She screamed over and over, but no one seemed to be able to hear her. Grant's voice got louder and louder. He was in trouble. She had to run to him, but her feet were stuck. Everything around her was dark. Her heart pounded louder and louder. Then hands grabbed her shoulders and she started to scream. Grant whispered close to her ear, "Jack, wake up." Jacqueline opened her eyes and pushed Grant's hands off her shoulders. "Stop it, Grant. What are you doing?" "Jack, shh. The house alarm is going off on our phones. Quiet." Jacqueline bolted upright, straining to hear any sound from downstairs, nausea rising in her throat. Once he was confident that Jacqueline was completely awake, Grant walked to their bedroom door and listened. He could clearly hear banging downstairs. "The girls, Grant, the girls. We need to get to them." Jacqueline had joined him at the bedroom door, her mouth close to his ear. Grant turned and looked into her eyes. "Do you still have my gun in your office?" "Yes, in the filing cabinet, but it's locked. The keys are in my purse downstairs." Grant turned away. "Damn it. Stay here. I will see what's going on." He opened the door as quietly as possible. "Not without me," Jacqueline whispered. She was so close to him they were touching. "Stay behind me then." Grant had grabbed his Swiss Army knife and held the knife extended in his right hand. Quietly and cautiously, they descended the stairs, stopping every few stairs to listen. A loud, repetitive banging was coming from the front door. Jacqueline grabbed the bottom of Grant's shirt and hung on. They moved as one. She whispered a plea to God for protection. "Watch my back." Grant walked the 10 feet to the door while Jacqueline kept scanning the room for anything out of place. When he reached the front door, he found it locked. He looked through the peephole in the door and busted out laughing. "What's so funny?" Jacqueline whispered. "Your wicker chair is levitating and banging against the door. Wow, this wind looks vicious." "Let me see." Jacqueline pushed Grant to the side and looked out at the storm. She instantly felt relieved that it was just their outdoor furniture that was being torn to pieces and not them. But why would the alarm go off if a door wasn't open? Good question. Let me go grab my phone. I never did look to see what area of the house was sending the message. Grant ran back up the stairs and quickly returned holding his phone. His expression looked panicked. Grant grabbed Jacqueline's hand and pulled her back. "Jack, get behind me." She quickly got behind him without arguing. "What's going on?" "It says the garage door is open." Jacqueline tugged at Grant's shirt, pulling him back. "Should we just wait?" Grant took Jacqueline's hand off his shirt and gripped it. Without looking away from the kitchen, he whispered, "I will look first." Jacqueline pulled her hand from his. "Well, then I'm coming too." "Jack, please stay here close to the girls." "No, I'm coming." Jacqueline tried to push past him, but he shouldered her out of the way. "So stubborn," Grant mumbled under his breath as he fought to stay a couple of steps ahead of her. He held his knifeless hand out to the side to prevent her from doing anything stupid. Once they reached the threshold to the kitchen, Grant reached for the kitchen light switch and flipped it on. Bright light flooded every inch of the large room. The door to the garage stood wide open, and on the floor laid what looked to be the neighbor's cat. Blood pooled beneath its lifeless body. Jacqueline stifled a scream. They both took a step back and searched the kitchen with their eyes. Nothing else seemed out of place. Just then there was a loud knock at the front door. Still moving as one, they returned to see who it was. Looking through the peephole, the officers assured Grant of their legitimacy by holding up their badges. He unbolted the door, and with a strong gust of wind and a barrage of leaves, the officers stepped into the entryway. After Grant shared a brief explanation of what they found, the officers asked Grant and Jacqueline to stay put while they went to investigate, guns drawn. "Well, it looks like a sick practical joke. There's no sign of forced entry. It appears like the garage door is unlocked, and so is the door to the kitchen." Jacqueline glared at Grant, and he blatantly ignored her gaze. The officer continued, "It looks like they shot the cat in the heart outside and carried it inside and dropped it on the kitchen floor. There is blood from the driveway all the way into the kitchen, but no footprints." Jacqueline stared at the officer. "Is the house secure now?" "Yeah, all looks clear," the officer said, coming from upstairs. "And amazingly, your kids are all still sleeping peacefully. It might be a good morning tomorrow to take your kids out for breakfast. Crime scene investigators should be here early mid-morning to bag the cat and take samples of hair and blood from the trail through the garage. They will call first. Sorry for the inconvenience." By the time the officers left, it was nearly 4 a.m. Together, Grant and Jacqueline curled up on the couch staring at the front door. The wind outside howled and Jacqueline's stomach turned. Should she tell Grant what was going on with Damien? Was this his demented idea of scaring her, or was this whole thing unrelated to Damien? She couldn't chance revealing her past if it wasn't related. The idea of revealing the shame she had carried for 2 decades paralyzed her efforts at vulnerability. For now, she felt stuck with her own pathetic idea that she could settle the matter with Damien all by herself. 57 more hours, and the results would be known.